Pharisees chasing Jesus. They followed him throughout his ministry. They hounded him from place to place. They were constantly looking for a way to trap him. And today's text is no exception. Here, the Pharisees corner Jesus as he's teaching the crowds. And they bait their hook by asking a question about marriage. Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife? To say the least, this was a loaded question. And it really needs to be understood on a couple of levels. First, it's important to know that this was the very same question that got John the Baptist beheaded. Back in chapter 6, Mark records that John had publicly preached against Herod for his unlawful divorce and subsequent remarriage to his brother's wife, Herodias. So John preached, and John's rebuke of Herod got him thrown into prison, eventually got him executed. So today's text, this exchange between Jesus and the Pharisees, it takes place well within Herod's jurisdiction. And it's safe to say that the Pharisees hoped that a politically incorrect reply from Jesus on this topic of divorce would cause Herod to arrest Jesus, just like he had done with John. And that was the first trap. The topic of divorce was also a very slippery slope because, in addition to the possible political problems this presented with Herod, the Jewish teachers of the law all had different opinions about what constituted a lawful divorce. Some rabbis taught that marriage was a binding agreement that could only be dissolved in the case of adultery within the marriage, while other rabbis allowed divorce for almost anything a husband considered displeasing. In fact, people who taught from this perspective said that anything a wife did that did not satisfy the husband was grounds for divorce. Things like being a bad cook or not being attractive enough. And you can see from the broad spectrum of interpretation that this was an utterly impossible question. And that was trap number 2. And it was a trap in which the Pharisees were sure they could catch Jesus. And when Jesus responds by pointing them to the commands of Moses, well, they were sure they had it. You see, back in Deuteronomy chapter 24, Moses had spoken about this very same topic. And his words provided no more clarity on the issue than their own rabbinic traditions. So when Jesus asked them, "What did Moses command you?" and they answered by saying, "Moses allowed a man to write a certificate of divorce and send her away," well, it must have looked like Jesus was playing right into their hands until Jesus spoke again. This is what he said. "Because of your hardness of heart, Moses wrote you this command." This was a game changer. A statement that none of them had anticipated. You see, the issue of divorce and whether or not divorce was lawful, that was a settled question. Everybody understood divorce was permitted. It was only the reasons for divorce that had been source for debate. Now, Jesus had completely redefined the teaching. He was telling them that divorce itself was never what God intended for marriage. And if you look closely at verse 5, you'll notice that as Jesus speaks about the historical problem that Moses addressed, he uses language that incriminates not only the people of Moses' day, but also his immediate audience. Jesus said to them, "It was because your hearts were hard that Moses wrote you this law." In these words, Jesus attacked the legalistic attempt of the Pharisees to justify sin. Here, using very personal pronouns, Jesus called their bluff, and he spoke truth, biting truth, harsh truth, convicting truth. Moses didn't authorize divorce because it was okay in God's eyes. Now, Moses wrote this law because the people of Israel had become so calloused and hardened in their sin that Moses had to find some way to practically deal with their abandonment of God's plan for marriage. In these words, Jesus indicted the Pharisees for the very same. The Pharisees had set out to ambush Jesus. But instead of engaging them in the futile process of judging others and trying to determine just when a sin becomes a sin, Jesus pointed them back to the reality of their own hard hearts. And he spoke a word that upholds the sacred place of marriage, both in their time and also in ours. What God has joined together, let not man separate. And you talk about a text that has application for us. Like the Pharisees of Jesus' day, we so often find ourselves pointing to the sins of others, complacently commenting on how bad the world has become, and all the while ignoring the truth of our own hard hearts. And the truth about this issue is that Christian people, just like us, struggle in our marriages. And the truth about this issue is that Christian people, just like us, sabotage our relationships. And the truth about this issue is that Christian people, just like us, get divorced. In fact, if you look at the most recent research, the divorce rate for Christians is statistically identical to that of non-Christians. The Pharisees asked Jesus, "Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife?" And the truth is, God never wants divorce. Divorce never pleases God. And even when biblical grounds for divorce have been established, divorce is always a tragedy in the eyes of the Lord. And its effects on the church are devastating. The truth is, as we sit together this morning, there are many of us struggling with marriage. The church is often the last place we would ever admit something like this. But I know it's true. And I don't need surveys and statistics to tell me it's true because I see it each and every week. As I meet with husbands and wives desperately trying to deal with trouble in their marriage. And I see it each and every week in the aftermath of lives that have been turned upside down by the pain of divorce. I vividly remember a meeting that I once had with a man who had hit rock bottom. He told me a story that began with depression and substance abuse and then moved to infidelity and ultimately to the splintering of his family. He sat in my office, a completely broken person. And here's the thing, this man is no different than any of us. This man sat in church every Sunday with his family. He dressed up his kids. He put on a smile. He greeted fellow church members like everything was great, all the while hiding the pain of a life that was out of control and a marriage that was falling apart. And I tell you this not to be theatrical or melodramatic, because I know that many of you right now are struggling to hide sin and to cover up issues that are ripping your family apart. These challenges, these frustrations are real. And they are things that get all of us. And the world around us and our hearts within us tell us that it's time for a change. That we are justified in wanting to end a relationship that seems hopeless. My friends, the right answer is never found in minimizing sin. And the right answer cannot be found by looking for happiness in other places or other people. And the right answer is not divorce. The only right answer is found in repentance and in the forgiveness that is ours in the cross of Jesus. You are not the perfect spouse. And you will never have the perfect spouse. But we haven't been called to perfection. We have been called to redemption. That is why Christ came. And that is why, in today's text, that Jesus refused to get into a discussion that made divorce seem lawful. Jesus didn't come to minimize sin. He came to bear it and to forgive it through his death in our place. And in the forgiveness that he has accomplished for us, we have hope. Hope for ourselves, and hope for our families, and hope for our marriages. Christ's blood covers all our sins. And no matter what you may have done to damage your family, and even if you have experienced the agony of divorce, in Christ, you are a new creation. And in Christ, there is always a good future. God's forgiveness is life. It is hope. It is everything. And in the forgiveness of Christ, today, you can repent. And today you can forgive. And today you can take joy in what God has join together. So go with the assurance and the peace of this promise God has made to you.